On the 25th of February, Saturday this week, Nigerians will head to the polls to select or elect several officials. This includes state assemblies, members of the House of Representatives, senators, and governors. But of course, all eyes will be focused on the election of the President of the Republic. The President is leaving the position, creating the space for about a field of 18 major candidates who are vying for that position. But four of them stand out. These include Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former governor of Lagos State, and a candidate under the platform of the All Progressives Congress, Atiku Abubakar, who is a former vice president representing People's Democratic Party, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, and a former governor of the Anambra State, as well as Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigerian People's Party, and a former governor of Kano State. Nigeria is the most important country in Africa and also the most populated country on the continent. With over 200 million people, it is the largest oil-producing country on the continent, as well as the largest economy in Africa. This means that what happens in Nigeria matters. It is a very critical election, and an election the world awaits its outcome. I'm in the studio with two public affairs analysts, Elijah Ayodele and Matthew Oluku. Let's get into today's business. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Gentlemen, good to have you.
It's a pleasure being
It's a
here.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. This is the election the whole world, is really interested in. And to be sincere with you, it's very, 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 very close. Just a few days away from now, and I believe Nigerians are also raising up to, cast their votes for the right person. Now, the INEC began, distributing sensitive materials on Wednesday, which it will still continue till tomorrow or thereabouts. Now, as Nigerians are going to cast their votes on Saturday, what should be on the minds of every Nigerian going out?
We should look beyond our personal interest and focus more on what will be more beneficial to the general populace, the unborn generation. It is the usual norms to choose most times against our conscience, but according to the dictate of some of the political elites. Well, this time around, with the happenings across the board in the country, I think we should sit back and look into the possibility of getting things rightly done this time around. So I advise you, voters, to go out and vote according to their conscience and what they think will be better for every Nigerian.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, the INEC started the distribution of sensitive materials 2 days ago, and by the weekend, before the weekend, the Nigeria will be casting their votes. I think those materials should be on ground. Now, EFCC chairman, Abdul Rashid, decried the state of vote buying in the system, which he said is security operatives would not tolerate that in this election. Of course, he stated this during an interview with him on Channels Television. Now, how can we stop the act of vote buying? How can we curb it? With even the measures put in place by the president that is really biting hard on Nigerians, that's the money policy that Nigeria designed to stop vote buying. How else do you think we can curb it? Because whether we like it or not, the new notes are now with some of these politicians.
Okay, once again, thank you, Arime. I think government as a formidable body have all it takes to address vote buying if they are sincere. Because from what I read about the statement that was credited to even the chairman of EFCC himself, I'm talking about Alabawa, that politicians are devising new means of vote buying to the extent that they are thinking of even getting foods for the electorates. But however I look at it, I think the government have the capacity and what it takes to address it. One, if you are deploying your personnel to all the nook and cranny of the country to ensure that anywhere they notice vote buying, such corporate should be apprehended and prosecuted. But the problem we have in this country is that you have a situation where the personnel will be deployed and they will see people who are perpetrating the crime and they look the other way. And again, there's another angle to it. There's a possibility of making electronic transfer. That's why I said that the government has the capacity. The government has the capacity to control the network operation. They can decide to jam the network for the period of the election to ensure that transaction did not go through. So whichever way, it borders on sincerity on the part of the government, whether that will determine whether they will be able to address it. It's not even about capacity. So for me, if the government through the respective anti-graft agencies are sincere, I don't see any challenge in addressing vote buying. Because whether I would like it or not, if you allow vote buying to fester, you end up electing people who may not be popular enough to have the competence to deliver the job. Because you find a situation where people may be voting on the basis of I'm being paid ignorantly. Because most politicians who even go out there to buy votes got this money illegally. At the end of the day, use it to pay the people to buy their conscience. So for me, vote buying needs to be addressed. And the government has the capacity to address it if there is sincerity of purpose.
Elijah, whether we like it or not, there will be party agents at the polling units, and these are the people that sometimes are used to to persuade people to vote for their candidates. Now, what would you say concerning this in terms of copying vote buying? Don't you think something should be done about party agents?
I want to look away from the party agents when it comes to vote buying in Nigeria. You are a journalist and you understand how things plays out. Buying of votes does not necessarily happen on the day of election in most cases. Those ones you see on the day of election are mere formality. Like Matthew has rightly said, the contenders and the political gladiators. Look at what is currently happening in the country. There's Naira redesign policy that has forced almost everyone to become beggar. There's no money anywhere. If I'm a contender or a political leader in my environment today and I order for 2-3 cows, I order for rice, which I'm going to pay later. I order for vegetable oil and I cook for people. People that has been badly beaten by the hunger that is rampaging everywhere. Believing in me that I will always be there for them, that alone is vote buying, not necessarily exchange of Naira votes. But as far as the polling unit is concerned and the agents that operate there, most times you will not see the hands of the agents in vote buying. They have their machineries in places. They only liaise with the agents to perpetrate the evil of vote buying on the day of election. So it's not all about the agents alone. There are machineries assigned with the duty of canvassing votes on the day of election. If they are convinced with the campaign they made, or is there any need for vote buying? But as bad as our election is, it is not all about campaign of purpose and what you do better if you get to the office. It's all about being there as a man that wanted to serve the interests of some certain elements of people. So that's the reason for vote buying. But to me, if the government is not part of vote buying system, it doesn't take us anything to address the issue of vote buying. And I think if we want to get it better going forward, vote buying should be the thing of the past. We should address it and nip it to the bud so that the right person that has all it takes to lead those that people believe in their capacity and capability will emerge winner on every phases of election so that we can move our country forward.
All right. Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu had his last campaign rally in Lagos here. Likewise, Peter Obi. That should be last week. Now, it seems there is a major focus on these two presidential candidates, the Labour Party candidates, Peter Obi and Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Who do you think is likely to scale through?
Let me just be factual for the sake of the viewers outside there watching us. This election, as far as I know, goes beyond Peter Obi. I think it's out of the four major contenders, it should be narrowed down to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Elijah Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. Why do I say so? They have the political tentacles well spread across the nook and crannies of the country, more than Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso. If you look at these two names I've mentioned to you, Bola Tinubu and Atiku Abubakar, they've been in the game for a very long time. They have their foot soldiers everywhere. They touch all the bases. Peter Obi is a new entrant into the presidential race, and he was nowhere prepared until after the PDP's primary election, before he jumped to Labour Party. And some other time, sometimes ago, I was on a set like this analyzing that the youth that is coming in. Yeah, we have 93.5 million voters across Nigeria that is going to decide who rule us from May 29th, of which 48 million out of them are youths. But out of this 48 million, I can tell you, and you are free to go and fact check, we have just 31.45 of them on the internet. And this is narrowed down to the southern part of the country, not the interior and exterior of the north. So which means if Peter Obi is coming up and is to bank on the youth, I want to tell you that a large number of those youths will not vote. A large number of them will not vote. And if out of 90.5 million voters, the youths are coming out from the southern part, the southeast, south, and southwest. What's the number of youths in the southern part compared to that of the northern part? So I believe with the spread of the foot soldiers of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Elijah Atiku Abubakar, they are far ahead of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso.
Matthew, you've heard it from Elijah. Let's dissect this very well. Now, there are other factors that have been said that might, likely affect Peter Obi, which is the IPOB factor, the secessionists in that region. Apart from that, insecurity. 5 states in the eastern region are prone to security attack. Now, is there any way Peter Obi can scale through apart from these factors I've just mentioned?
I think permit me first of all to address some of the issues being raised by Mr. Elijah, because I think I have divergent view to his position. When we look at his analysis, he narrowed the contention between Ashwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu and Elijah Atiku Abubakar, and I disagree with him. Okay? The figures he mentioned in terms of number of registered voters, percentage of youth, that one is a statement of facts. But if you look at Lagos, for instance, you agree with me that PDP's influence, popularity have been depleted as a result of the entrance of Peter Obi. The same thing is applicable to this whole south of 6 states. The same thing is applicable to the southeast, where you have 5 states. And don't forget that in the north, the decision of All Progressive Congress to choose a Muslim ticket have its own um, effect on this election. Only recently, about yesterday or day before yesterday, we heard that the Christian leaders in the north, being led by Danjuma, endorsed P2B. What I'm trying to say in essence is, if you look at all those Christian-dominated areas in the north, like Benue, Taraba, Plateau, Nasarawa, you can go on and name them. They were natural stronghold of PDP. And PDP's influence have been depleted as a result of the entrance of P2B. Then, if you are looking at the insecurity, that is to answer your question. If you are looking at the insecurity in the southeast, there's no argument it will have some impact on the election. We are going to see some level of voter apathy because of the fear of the unknown. And again, for the first time in the history of Nigerian agitation and Nigeria as a nation, we are seeing a political organization like Ohanaeze Ndigbo coming out to speak boldly against the activity of one of the leaders of supposed IPOB, Simon Ekpa. Because we have seen Ohanaeze coming out to tell federal government to liaise with Finland government to extradite Ekpa for prosecution for wanton destruction of lives and property in the southeastern part of the country. So to that extent, you will see that within the people, there is a renewed vigor to ensure that they stamp out illegality and activities of all these non-state actors. We are quite agreed. Normally in a system of this nature, the government is supposed to have monopoly of coercive power. But unfortunately, the Nigerian government is sharing that monopoly of coercive power with some non-state actors. In the southeast, we are talking about the activities of IPOB and all that. So, I agree with you that we are going to have some level of voter apathy in the southeastern part of the country as a result of the activities of these non-state actors. But it is not going to be, the impact is not going to be too much. Then I see the election between Tinubu and Obi, not even between Atiku and Tinubu. Because, take for instance in Lagos here, the vote that is going to come out in Lagos will shock Nigerians. Because an Atiku will not come out second in Lagos. If a Tinubu has the highest number of votes in Lagos, the next person that will come after him in Lagos is Obi. And again, look at the last rally Labour Party had in Lagos here. In spite of the intimidation of the miscreants, I wouldn't even say because I can just say miscreants against Labour Party. Look at the turnout. We learned that on 3rd Mainland Bridge, they stationed some boys turning people back who were coming from VI Lekki area, as is. And we even read yesterday that one of the boys that received machete cut ears, that he got his hand amputated. So it's part of the intimidation, harassment, and all that. Look at the crowd at Tawa Balewa Square, TBS. So in Lagos, P2B is going to come as second.
There have been talks about the northern region. Of course, we all know that the northern side plays a vital role when it comes to Nigeria's election. Now, we have the likes of Rapid Council coming out from that region. We have the likes of Ganduje, Erufai of Kaduna State supporting Bola Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar from Adamawa. Now, how do you think Obi can survive in that region?
I think we have gotten to where we need to do some critical analysis of how the election is going to be. Looking beyond religion as a factor here, Obi as a man, like I said, will only make impact in the southern part of the country. The only area in the north where Obi can have any impact is where you have lightly dominated Christian in the northern region. If you look at the north, the Muslim put first above all things their religion and their fellow men in their religion, in their faith. In the core north, like in the northwest where you have 7 states, I can beat my chest to face the camera and tell you here that Obi will not win any state in the north out of that 7 states in the northwest because they are Muslim dominated region. Come to the north, east, where you have Adamawa, you have in the northeast, where you have Adamawa, you have Bauchi, you have Borno, Gombe, Taraba, and Yobe. Of all these states, it is only in Taraba, Bauchi, and Adamawa that you have presence of Christianity, and they are minority. They are not up to 30% of those states I've mentioned to you. In the states like Borno, Gombe, and Taraba in north, and Yobe in northeast, they are purely Muslim-dominated states. So these are areas where I believe Atiku will get more of vote. In fact, in this particular northeast I'm talking about, I will tell you that Atiku will win in Adamawa, he's going to win in Bauchi, he's going to win in Taraba. My prediction. APC will win in Borno, in Gombe, and Yobe. Because of the less presence of the Christian in those areas. And don't forget that Atiku is a factor in the northeast. He's going to win that Adama because it's his home state and the power of incumbency of the state governor of that state, who is a PDP man, and he has his foot well fixed on the ground in that place. Don't forget that the president running to Tinubu is from Borno, and Borno in that region is second highest registered voter state with 2.5 million, coming behind Bauchi that has 2.7 million. So the current governor of that state is one of the most performing governor in Nigeria as of today. Forget about religion, forget about region, forget about ethnicity or whatever factor. Babagana Zulum is one of the best governors in our country as of today. He put his life on the line for his people. He was attacked 5 good times when his life was being attempted to take. But he doesn't care. He's taking those people that were displaced back to their ancestral homes, building schools for them. So it's a factor. And don't forget that Shetima is also from that state. In that region, they will share the votes 3-3, those states, between Tinubu and Atiku. When you come to the northwest, where you have 7 states of Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Kano, Kaduna, and Jigawa, I want to tell you that the DG of Atiku campaign, who is also the governor of Sokoto State, will deliver Sokoto State. And Sokoto, in that region, is number 5 in terms of registered voters. You cannot stand here to tell me that Kaduna will fall to the hand of Peter Obi, where you have about 33% of Christians. You cannot sit here to tell me that Kano will fall to the hand of Peter Obi, where they are predominantly Muslim. The Kano votes will not be as usual. It's going to be shared between Tinubu, who has the support of the state governor, Alhaji Umaru Ganduje, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. In that state, the former governor is working for Atiku and is taking the largest senatorial district, which is the Kano Central. So Kwakwaso will also take a share of vote from that place. So in those areas, coming to the North Central, please, come to the North Central where you have, if you add Abuja, make it 7. Atiku and Tinubu will also share that North Central. I'm not seeing
Like this
Obi taking more than I'm not seeing Obi taking more than one state in the North Central, which is going to be Benue State, because Autumn declared his support for Peter Obi. But the rest of Plateau, Niger, Nasarawa, Kwara, Kogi, and Abuja, I am not seeing Peter Obi winning in any of those states. So, having said this, I believe that Peter Obi will make inroad into the north, but with little impact in terms of votes.
Is it likely to have 25%
in all the states? Not, I doubt it. Not in all the states, especially the corners, where you have Muslim dominated people voting in that place, and you know they are voting bloc.
Matthew, I don't know if you go in line with what you said or if you subscribe to some predictions. Now, it's very obvious that Obi's running mate, Deti Baba, is not that influential in the north, if not for this election that came up. Now, he has made his own predictions. Now, do you see it that way?
First of all, let's look at the constitutional provision on how somebody election is won and lost in Nigeria. Because the constitution says that 1, you need to get majority of the votes cast, lawful vote cast. Secondly, you need to secure 25% in total majority of the states. In this case, we are talking about 24 states. And good thing, in his own analysis, he alluded to the fact that P2B will measure well in areas where you have predominance of Christians. Or even if you don't have them in dominance, areas where you have Christians in the north. And if you look at his own analysis, most of the places he mentioned that you have presence of Christians in the north, like Kaduna he mentioned, and some other places, he alluded to the fact that you are looking at Christian of about 35%. So, to that extent, his own analysis, he may be giving Obi a 35% vote in Kaduna and some other places. He have mentioned that Christians have up to 35% in the north. I'm trying to throw his line of reasoning. Now, let me isolate Kano, for instance. Take a critical look at Kano State. In 2019 election, during the presidential election, Muhammadu Buhari won with over 2.7 million votes. A week after the presidential election, they conducted the gubernatorial election. In the same state where APC led with over 2.7 million votes, a week after then, during the gubernatorial election, PDP was losing. Sorry, PDP was leading, before the election was declared inconclusive. They conducted the second round of the election, and APC won under controversial circumstances. Now, the argument is, if Buhari was not on the ballot after 1 week of his presidential election and APC narrowly won, it goes to say that it is unlikely that APC's candidate is going to inherit Buhari's goodwill in Kano and in some other places where Buhari is seen as Megaskia, as an honest person. Then, if you look at the South, you have 6 states. Like I earlier said, which used to be predominantly dominated and stronghold of PDP. And a P2B is likely going to not just 25% win in those states. We are talking about 6 states.
Well, don't forget
then in the southeast, you are looking at about 5 states.
Don't forget we have Igbo governor, APC governors in those states.
The APC governors is immaterial. I'll tell you why. You see, it's like when you go to a region, you look at what political party is acceptable to the people. Look at in Akwa Ibom State. And Akpabio ruled for 8 years, performed excellently well as a governor, and later defected to APC. and decided to contest as a senator. He lost woefully because he went to unpopular party. Look at other states. Odua ruled for 8 years, left office, defected to APC, contested as a senator in the same senatorial district where he won election as a governor. He lost woefully. Reason because the party is not popular in that area. Look at Amechi as a two-time governor, as Right Honorable, having held the position of Speaker of House of Assembly in his state like 2 consecutive times before he became the governor. He left PDP for APC and became irrelevant in that state. So we can go on and mention people who suffer the same fate. That's why I can confidently tell you that even what's it called? Even Wike might not likely have what he wants. We have heard him in one of the instances asking the people to save his political career. Because that is why he resorted to threatening.
It seems the G5 is even G5.
There's nothing like G5 anymore.
No.
What do you have is G1?
It's currently divided, Elijah.
There's nothing like G5.
Unlike what we used to have in the past,
Let me just be sincere with all of us here, and for the sake of our viewers outside there. The G5 was running a common purpose of the interest, not of themselves alone in the beginning of the race. It's all about Southern presidency agenda. On the 11th of May in 2022, when the 17 governors of the Southern region met in Asaba, according to the communique read by their chairman, the governor of Ondo State, they said all they want is a Southern presidency and nothing more. And the present governor and the presidential running mate to the PDP candidate was their host then. And after the whole issue, the PDP could not honor that agreement, that request. It was only the APC that said the South should produce the president. Why I'm going to G5 is this. These 5 governors called G5 felt angry. They got angry because one of them who played host to them when this agreement was reached was one of those they allegedly said to have sabotaged the possibility of having a PDP presidential candidate under their party PDP by persuading the Edo, Bayelsa, and Delta state delegates to vote against the Southern candidate, which is their primary objective, to have a Southern presidency. Now, this is the reason why you have the G5. They said, in fairness, they want. Don't forget, most of these governors are not coming back. Okeze Ikpeazu of Abia, Lawrence Ugwanyi of Enugu, Wike of Rivers State, and Samuel Otom of Benue State. They are not seeking re-election. They have little or nothing to lose. But they said, in fairness, if PDP is taking their presidency to the north, they should give them the chairmanship in the south. Now, Wike in Rivers State, I can tell you that he has his foot soldiers in most of the corners of that state. He might not be able to deliver in totality the votes of Rivers State to wherever he wants to go, but he's still going to control a large bulk of votes in Rivers State. Don't also forget that Rivers State with 3.5 million registered voters is the highest registered voter state in that region of South-South. I can tell you that Obi is likely to win in Edo.
A PDP controlled state.
Yes, Edo. They have issue. They have their issue. Okay. Beyond what Mr. Matthew has said, okay. Reason for why some of these people he has mentioned are not looking vibrant or relevant in their state because they divided the parties against themselves. That's why don't have a common front to fight in an election day. Obi is likely to win in Edo, in Bayelsa, and Akwa Ibom.
Elijah, let's leave that for now. In 2015, we had an INEC board that conducted a free, fair, and credible election. That was very, very obvious in person of Atairu Jega. This present INEC board, do you see him conducting a free, fair, and credible election, just like the president, has in mind?
I think we have no reason to doubt the sincerity of the current INEC under the leadership of Yakubu Mahmoud to conduct fair and credible election. Because we have seen an INEC over the years that have tried to improve on the system, that have tried to introduce technology to reduce pernicious human interference in the system. And we have seen an INEC that have always come out to raise issues where they feel they are having challenge. But I think the area we may need to exercise restraint and concern is in the area of having people who have integrity to manage those technologies. Because only recently in Osun State, we had a situation where somebody won an election and the electoral tribunal notified the election and gave the victory to another person. And if you look at the document that was relied upon for the tribunal to arrive at that verdict, it was a certified 2 copy of information from Beavers from INEC. And we have the situation where a former director of voter education in the person of Oluwole came out to clarify that APC got incomplete result report from the Beavers. So it got to show that there may be some level of compromise from personnel of INEC, not INEC as a body. So that is why we should exercise some concern. Then again, I think as a good follower of the system and the polity, I took note of what happened in Anambra gubernatorial election. And I think it's a great concern in this forthcoming election. I had a situation where we noticed that the part of process and processes of INEC includes after voting from the polling unit. The results of the election will be counted in the presence of all the agents of the party. Then instead of sending the result to INEC portal, the result is being sent to INEC server. And the result is now taken to the World Collation Center, where enumeration area technicians will have to validate the results before entering it into from EC8B, before uploading it to INEC portal, where the public, the press like you, and election observers and everybody can have access to it. The question is this, from what we read, that there were attempts by some unscrupulous, unpatriotic Nigerians and politicians to influence those enumeration area technicians to upload pre-filled from EC8B form instead of the one that came from the world level. And we learned it was resisted. So what I'm saying in essence is to remove that human interference, I think from the world level, as at the same time you are sending the result from the polling unit to INEC server, let it simultaneously go to INEC portal. Even as we are going to the world level to fill another from EC8B, but let those 2 results go to INEC portal where the public have access to it for purpose of accountability and transparency. Then again, if you look at the issue I raised, the first one, that borders on the Beavers, information that is being uploaded to INEC server, I think INEC should come out clean to tell us the position of things, as it has to do with somebody going to INEC website or server to obtain a report that is incomplete from the Beavers. So until you address those things, it may erode the confidence of Nigerians in the electoral process.
Now, whether we like it or not, this election is very important. It's a critical one, and like the topic says, forward ever, backward never. You need to choose one. What advice would you be giving to Nigerians that are going out to exercise their franchise on Saturday?
We're in the season of election. For whatever interests or purposes you might want to serve individually, bear in mind that election will come. It will go. Our country will remain with us. remain with ourselves as one people. Let us be guided by the Constitution, by putting up the right conduct as a good citizen of the country. Exercise your civic right. Vote the candidate of your choice. Don't engage yourself in any criminal activities that can sabotage the efforts of the people that will be working tirelessly to ensure that there's an election. At the same time, don't kite your life. Don't play kite with your life. If you die, it's just a loss for your family. And whatever you will not be able to say, you are part of this. Anything that is not in the right direction, don't be involved. I'm talking about smuggling of ballot boxes, disruption of electoral processes. Be a good ambassador of the country. That's
All right, Matthew, whether we like it or not, we must go out there to cast our votes. And it's either we miss it or we get it right this time around. Now, the word to the electorate.
I think it's simple. The period of the electionary campaign have afforded them an ample opportunity to see the manifesto, the program of all the various political parties and their candidates. So to that extent, I think that should guide them in forming opinion on who to vote for. And I think we should get to a level where we are not teleguided, we are not micromanaged by one's political actor somewhere, where you have a regimented arrangement telling everybody you must vote this candidate. Let people vote on the basis that I'm convinced that the program and manifesto of this person, his party, has the capacity to deliver on the challenges, to address the challenges we are facing as a nation. I think once we form the opinion on who to vote on that basis, we'll get it right.
All right, thank you so much. And I really appreciate your appearance on the show, gentlemen. I really appreciate you for coming on board. And I pray your preferred candidates, they'll get it right. I pray your preferred candidate.
I never told you how many
it's
preferred
not.
candidates.
It's all about preferred candidate.
It's about
Your candidate will not win. My candidate will not win. Let the will of God be done.
all right, just like
the issue is it depends on whoever wins.
Okay.
For me, as long as the process is free, fair, and credible,
okay.
it means that the government the people want. So whatever comes out of it, they have to live with it.
All right, whatever comes out of it, we have to live with it. That's what Matthew has said. And Elijah has also spoken today. And on this note, I say goodbye to you on today's edition of Political Matters. Join us next time on the same platform. Michael Adikunle remains my name, and I implore all Nigerians to go out there and cast their votes. Come Saturday, February 25th. Bye for now, everyone.